Okay. See, this is Carrier Pigeon. I do just want to show you Carrier Pigeon, and there's a reason. I'm talking about fine art and illustration. What I always liked about in Europe and Japan is, in Europe and Japan, there's not a class system between fine art and illustration. If you live in Japan and you're a famous woodblock artist and you illustrate a book like Hokusai did, it's considered a feather in your cap as opposed to meaning that you're, as with all due respect, my friend Bert Hassan, who I stuck his portrait in there, used to say what he called high art and low art. So high art was fine art, that was painting and sculpture, and low art was illustration, graphic design. You know, in Japan or in Europe, there's a phenomenal printmaker named, the German, what the hell was it? Horst Janssen. Is anybody familiar with Horst Janssen? There's a national holiday to him. He's a great artist, but he illustrated books with etchings also. So this magazine, which I'm only a little part of, which I'm very, very proud of actually to be part of. The idea of this magazine and all of the people that kind of came up with it was it's portfolios of fine artists and illustrated stories. Actually, that's mine on the cover. I was honored that I got stuck on the cover there. That's a monoprint. Doesn't that look nice? Anyway, so I just want to read you a little bit about this. The idea of this Carrier Pigeon is a magazine of illustrated fiction and fine art. By giving full creative control to the artists, illustrators, designers, and writers, this magazine hopes to level the conventional perception of the singularity of each artistic discipline. Carrier Pigeon provides artists with a venue for telling stories in an undisturbed environment by offering the chance to show full bodies of work and unconditional artistic freedom in both direct subject matter and the interpretation of the text. And the whole idea of just like mixing it all up. Now what we have in here, which I think is wonderful, is we have, that's a monoprint. There's a lot of printmaking in here. That's a monoprint. This is an illustrated story. Some of the stories are real crazy and done in different techniques. Some are more, this guy's Evan Sommer, he's my friend I told you about, phenomenal etcher. He's a famous etcher actually. And he helped to pioneer the collograph. These are collographs he was doing earlier. You know, he studied with Petterty at Yale and helped to develop collograph. And he's a phenomenal etcher. And his works are in the permanent collection of the Met. And he just had a show in China. Look at these, they're really phenomenal. And you can imagine how long he works on these things. So you can understand why when he saw me doing those monoprints in an afternoon. And then we'd be hanging in the show next to each other, and my piece was as big as his. You know, it's, and I love Evan. But Evan just had a show in China. He was commissioned by the Chinese government to go over to China and work for about a month, and all of the important printmakers who taught in the universities there just came and watched him work. He's a great guy also. So those are etchings. And at the beginning of each portfolio of artists is a personal statement, and the artists wrote their own personal statement, and nothing was changed. You know, basically, you selected your work, and your personal statement is, you know, your feelings about your own work. So it's a unique opportunity to kind of be published and also just to really show yourself in the way that you want to. This is an illustrated story. These are very strong illustrations. And also with the illustrated stories, because I illustrated a story in the second issue, you're not held, you know, you can interpret the literature the way you want. This woman's name is Frances Jetter. She's a very, very well-known printmaker and illustrator. Yeah, Frances is wonderful. She does fantastic lino cuts, and there's her personal statement. I love her work. She's a great person, too. They're very, very powerful, and again, it's printmaking. And printmaking itself traditionally has a kind of a raw graphic power. That's what it has going for it. If you look at, you know, like a lot of the great German expressionist art. Okay, this woman is named Ria Hasegawa. She's a terrific printmaker, and she illustrated this story. And this is, we printed 1,000 copies of this, and she made an original lithograph, and there was one original lithograph. It's numbered in, you know, like inside of each one of these magazines, which was very nice. This woman's from Israel. Her name is Yael Balaban. I think her statement is really interesting. And these are kind of abstract drawings. I like what she wrote. She said, "I feel happy and connected to the mechanisms of the world when I take a pen in my hand. As my thoughts unravel loosely, the flow of the pen on the paper or masonite reveals to me many of the secrets of my subconscious. These spiral drawings ultimately bind themselves into their individual forms with minimal interference from me." I think that's beautiful. And again, they're abstract, but they almost feel to me like Persian miniatures, you know. So, and they do feel like prints also, even though they're not. This is an illustrated story. I love that drawing. This gentleman integrated his artwork with the story, and the topography becomes part of the art, which I think is interesting. This woman's from Japan, and these are mixed media. She's a very good printmaker, and I love this one here. Look at that. They're kind of heartbreaking. She's a very good printmaker also. This is my friend Bill Maxwell. He's an abstract painter and printmaker. He's one of the old masters. You know, Bob Blackburn passed away. He's still around. He's been printmaking forever. And these are monoprints, and then he worked on top of them. And he's a completely, you know, he's a completely conceptual and abstract artist. It's kind of interesting if you. I can't help myself. I'm going to go through it quickly. Just he likes Nietzsche. You know, he's really obsessed with Nietzsche, and he's really got it in for McDonald's also. He thinks it's not just the Republican Party that's going to destroy the world. It's like the big corporations like McDonald's are destroying planet Earth. He used to dump his garbage on McDonald's driveway. Anyway, he has this idea that he's an atheist, and he feels like there's no God and life has no meaning. That's the starting point. So you make your own meaning, and life is chaos. I don't read Nietzsche. He must be a Nietzsche. So what's going on inside of the circle is chaos. And then what he does is he puts the circles and squares, which are geometric forms, around the chaos, which is his visualization of human beings' attempt to make meaning when there's none, because people can't deal with it psychologically. So actually the illusion of meaning, like religion and nationalism, is the box of the circle, and what's really going on is the chaos inside. I think they're really fascinating prints. They're monoprints. They were done on a circular plate, on my plate. I let him use it, and which was given to me as a birthday present. And then all of this stuff he drew on top of it. This is a very nicely illustrated story with woodcuts or lino cuts by a guy named Justin Sands, who's a good artist. And then finally, I'm at the end. These are all monoprints. And it was the only time, even with working for like the Franklin Library and, you know, some of the few art directors who really let me do whatever I wanted, this is the only time I ever really had complete freedom. You know, I just put the work that I wanted. I made my personal statement, and I'm really thrilled with this. Anyway, so for whatever, this Carrier Pigeon.
Is this a new issue?
This is issue 1. There was only, there's 1,000 copies were printed for issue 1. Issue number 2 is in the process of being printed now. It's being printed in Korea. All right, now let me see if